Ask the Mayor. Your chance to ask the Mayor of Weymouth, Bob Hedlund, questions about the town and or anything else that you have concerns about. Ask the Mayor is pre-recorded. And now, Ask the Mayor with Bob Hedlund.
Hey, we're back with another episode of Ask the Mayor. I'm Jim Melody, your citizen advocate and inquisitor, and as always, I'm joined with the mayor of the great metropolis of the town of Weymouth, Robert Hedlund. Robert, how are you today?
Wonderful, Jim. Great to reconvene once again, and it seems like it's been a while.
It sure does, but I think the summer has a history and tendency to move fast, and we're right in the middle of the summer season. Looks like the town's got a lot of great events, which I'm sure you're going to talk about at some point as we move through our show, but we were just informed this is our 70th episode of Ask the Mayor, and they said we wouldn't make it, Bob. True love, that's my philosophy. All right, well, listen, let's get right into it, Bob.
On that note, we are going to have another guest, Citizen Inquisitor host contest. So anyone that would like to fill in for Jim, just send an email into askmayorbob@gmail.com and say, I'd like to fill in for Jim. Right?
Yeah.
You ready?
Well, you know what, Bob? Actually, as a matter of fact,
you distracted.
Well, I am minimally distracted. I want to tell you why. I think there's somebody here who can do a better job than I can.
I'm going to talk about potholes.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce the great, the legendary Dana Hersey.
Thank you very much.
You wanted the guest host. You got one, Mr. Hedlund.
How do you do? Well, good to see you. Oh,
We are not worthy. We are not worthy.
I don't want to take your job.
No, listen. It's a big coat to fill, Dana. We were just talking about that. What's up?
I actually know him, you know.
There you go. You used to make me get a lunch.
We'll have to hear about that. Why don't you sit down and make yourself
From Brighton to
comfortable?
Beacon Hill, every bar.
Dana, you're looking good.
Well, thank you very much. You look pretty good yourself.
Yes, it's on mic. Just
No, I got a mic on, actually, already, I believe.
This is quite the surprise.
Well, you seem surprised.
This is.
So,
You were the inspiration for the show.
well, I don't know about me, but I was on that show.
Slide in, make
Ask
yourself
the manager.
comfortable.
Can I say
Dana,
something?
And I'm no Stu Tauber, of course, but
No, you're two of him.
All right, help me out. Let me throw
Yeah.
something at you, Dana, real
Yeah,
quick.
go ahead.
Since you mentioned Stu Tauber. Stu Tauber, Joe Domino.
Yes.
Joe was earlier on, right?
Joe was
Then
early.
Tauber.
We were just talking about this, actually. Bill Flynn was the
Bill
first
Flynn,
one.
yes.
Bill Flynn was the first one. And I was mentioning that, you know, I love Bill. But we had to do the show before noon because Bill went to lunch and had a couple. So it was...
much like our man.
I'm sure that's not true. He looks pretty sober to me. But anyway, yeah, then it was Bill Flynn. After that came Joe Domino, who became a very good friend of mine. We went on vacation together, and we had, you know, a lot of fun together, that guy. And then Dan Berkery.
Dan Berkery, right. But
then Stu Tauber.
Tauber came later. Okay.
Right, then Stu
Yeah,
Tauber.
Berkery was not as focused on the show like some of the others, is my
He
recollection.
loved that show, though.
Did
He
he?
loved doing that
He
show.
goofed
yeah.
around more than the other guys.
Well, Joe goofed around a lot, too. But, you know, it was hard. Some of the letters were pretty silly.
Like the one me and my buddies wrote in high school.
Yeah, there you go.
Guess what the topic was?
Three Stooges.
You got it.
How did I know?
All right, I'm going to give you one recollection and why the show was seared into my brain. Obviously, and I think, were you doing that before the movie Loft?
Yes.
Or did it run?
Yes.
Okay, so that was your first big break, so to speak.
Sort of. Well, as I was mentioning, under Bill Flynn, you only saw the back of my head. So, in fact, you know, I don't want to interrupt what you were saying, but the first time I saw your show here, I said, you should be sitting here. And the person asking the question should be here. Because the real command position in this set right here is right here, baby.
Right. Well, that's why we have Jim. That's why we have Jim.
I think. All right, well, there you go.
Now, did Sean McDonough take over from you?
No, it was a guy named Cliff Allen first, then Sean McDonough for a while.
Sean was a year behind
These
me
are
in
guys
high
that are
school.
reading the questions.
Sean was a year behind me in high school.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did really well for himself.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
He was a good guy.
So here's the recollection that I have, and obviously the Bruins back when I was a kid, hot. I mean, it was the thing.
Sure.
We lived and played street hockey, and that was obviously the thing that made Channel 38, right?
Yeah.
And then they had the Bruins long before they had the Red Sox. Got the Red Sox later. So I'm trying to think, did your show sometimes precede, it was Sunday nights, right? But there was something
My
that
show
was
was on every night.
No, I mean the Ask the
Ask the
Manager.
Manager.
It seemed to
I
be
think it was Sundays.
There was a segue once in a while to the Bruins or something, I think. I don't know, but...
Maybe,
I
but
don't know.
generally it was in that 10:30 at night area. So I don't know whether...
Maybe they reran it, because that would have been kind of late for some of us.
It certainly
young
would have,
kids.
yeah. Well, the interesting thing about it was the show was designed for public affairs, too, because of course if you're a licensed broadcaster,
Judy Jarvis on 56, you had
exactly,
you guys.
then you're obligated to have so much public affairs programming. So this is a cheap way to do it. You throw the general manager on, and you throw somebody to ask him questions, and you ask people to write in. And we had 30 minutes of public affairs programming we could write down for the next time we wanted our license renewed. Right. And the truth,
Kind of like what we're doing here.
the truth is, it became, under Joe DeMito and myself, it became entertainment more than it became information. And we were challenged, actually, at one point on the fact that it really wasn't public affairs programming.
You're awfully obsequious, and you usually reserve that just for me.
Yeah, I think it's time that we were honest about Mr. Berkery.
You mean the guy who bought the Long Ranger half hours and thought they were movies? You mean that fellow?
People make mistakes. You like Ma and Pa Kettle. Sure, nothing can be a winner.
So my big recollection, so watching it, what year did it start now?
Oh, God. I mean, you're talking about, let's see, shortly after I joined the station, which would have been somewhere around 1975, maybe,
Okay,
somewhere
so
in that area.
that coincides with my junior high school years. I graduated high school in 79.
Right.
And just started watching the show and actually found it interesting and entertaining.
Yeah, well,
and
I had a lot
enjoyed
of fun on
watching
that
it.
show.
I mean, it was just, a high school kid, a junior high school kid watching it, but I think you probably did have that age bracket watching the show, that demographic watching the show. And my big recollection was, aside from, and I wasn't the organizer of it, but you guys pulled the Three Stooges off, and whoever the GM at the time was, I know he got perturbed because many questions came in,
Dan
and he used to,
Berkery, probably, yeah.
used to brush you off and say, I don't want to answer any more Three Stooges questions.
Yes.
But
Well, a lot of them were written in crayon. I mean, some of them were like...
well, I remember a guy in high school got a petition going during lunch, and everyone at lunch is signing it. I think 90% of the signatures were from male students, not females.
Well,
but
when you said, what was it about, I knew exactly, because half the mail in that show was actually about the Three Stooges.
right. So anyway, the one major recollection I have is I'm in high school, and Joe DeMino, I enjoyed the show. I would have to say he was my favorite manager. I don't know why, but maybe I was watching, probably my peak Bruins watching, my peak 38 viewing years. And do you remember his farewell show?
Oh, sure, I was part of that farewell show.
I cried. Do you remember what you guys did?
Yeah, I think that if I remember, we had gone to lunch, and then after lunch we came back, and I was sitting at a. Wait, is this the Christmas show or was it the farewell show?
Farewell, I'm thinking about.
Oh, okay. And then I don't recollect that as much as this one
I
Christmas
think
show.
maybe the whole show or a portion of the show, you just had clips of previous shows.
Previous shows, yeah.
And there was no sound. You played Barbra Streisand, The Way We Were, over the footage.
Oh, really? Oh.
You don't remember that?
No.
Anyway, I was really sad that Domino was leaving, and he set the bar
you were
real
crying.
high.
I was headed for the stockyard with Joe. That's where we
Okay,
were.
so you and I have, prior to this show, a very brief connection, even though this is the first time I've ever met you. What's our connection?
Probably Senator Bruce Tarr.
Nope.
Well, he says hello, by the way.
You've done a lot of voiceover imaging work through the years.
Yes?
You don't remember doing any for me. I was a fill-in guy at WRKO, so you did some stuff for my
Oh,
fill-in
did
stuff.
I?
Yeah. Remember when Reese Hopkins went off to the can for a little while? Or went away somewhere for a little while?
Up the river, as they say.
It was his fill-in
Yes.
for a while, so you did a bunch of,
I don't
You're
remember.
tuned to WRKO with Bob Hedlund. Nope.
Probably. The name sounds familiar.
Jason Wolf would say the same thing.
There you go, Jason Wolf. Boy, these are coming back.
Boy, that place is crazy right now.
Yeah. What was that letter? Let's go back to that letter that you wrote to us. What was
I didn't write it. It was a petition.
It was a petition.
It was a petition a guy at school circulated in the cafeteria about bringing back the Three Stooges. You guys had cut the Three Stooges.
I see. You were a big Three Stooges fan.
Yeah, I mean, by then, though, I had seen every episode 72 times, so.
So had I, even more so. I mean, when I first joined that station, I joined as a booth announcer. And at that time, all the announcements were done live. And you sat in the booth, and they gave you a log. I was one of 4 booth announcers. And they gave you a log, you sat in it was a union job, though. They gave you a log, and then you watched TV. It's a little 4-inch monitor, black and white monitor. And when the commercials ran, you had to write down the times the commercials ran on the log, and you did the announcements. Available at Zayre's. I kind of remember Zayre's.
Absolutely.
And
Quincy Avenue.
Yeah, so I get to sit there and watch every single episode of the Three Stooges over and over and over and over and over again. So I know the Three Stooges backwards and forwards.
And MeTV is just publicizing that they're now running them. So
No, I don't. We used to do it.
Not sure where MeTV is on my dial, but
Nor do I. We used to do a New Year's Eve marathon with the Three Stooges that was very popular.
A quiet New Year's Eve at home. Happy as can be, right? But don't you wish she enjoyed the things you do?
What do you mean? She likes movies and she loves sports.
But what about
Oh, honey, can you turn that, please? I hate the Three Stooges.
try to imagine what life would be like if she loved the Three Stooges?
Why, you numbskull. What are you doing? Spread out. I love this stuff.
Honey, what's going on with you? What's wrong?
the Andelmans still do it.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. I didn't know
And they
that.
do some commentary in between, and they eat some food in between. And I've stayed in on New Year's Eve with my kid and watched it a little bit. What was your favorite Three Stooges episode?
Oh, there's so many. Brighto, probably. I think Brighto.
Well, this gentleman is Brighto. Yes. The savior of a nation. Yes, yes. The scientific marvel of the age. No. Yes.
Well, when Mo falls in the vat of rubber tar and ends up getting filled with helium, and he goes up and they try to shoot him down. That one was.
You know what I really loved about those old Three Stooges were the cars and everything else that they were, and the urban streets in the cities that were obviously in the late 1930s and the early 1940s. I mean, it really, that's what I remember most about Three Stooges.
Did their own stunts.
And Laurel and Hardy and all of those, is that it was
Sad-
such a snapshot of what America was. at
Right.
the time,
Sad.
you know?
I mean, guys my age, everyone grew up watching the Three Stooges, and a very sad story about the money that they would have made. It had been nowadays with,
sure.
with the royalties, syndication. They didn't get a dime.
But Curly, too. Look what happened to Curly. I mean, he early on had a stroke, of course, and he died broke.
Shemp died in the back of a car leaving a boxing match, I think at Madison Square Garden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I remember that, yeah.
Anyway. So, I guess you're the guest.
Oh, I got to do this for you, don't I?
You are the guest inquisitor / citizen advocate. So you have to hold me accountable if I become evasive in any particular question. And maybe a little later in the show, we can hear a little more about your career. And you local guy, grew up in the region?
I actually grew up in Wenham.
Yeah.
On the North Shore.
Yep.
And,
Thus the Bruce Tarr connection. Horse country, right?
Horse country, that is right, sir. All right, a viewer writes to us and says, "Hi, Mayor Bob. First, let me state that I am fully aware that this is not your decision, but I figured I would ask you anyway. I recently attended the Braintree Parade, and I feel it's like one of the best of the South Shore. Why doesn't Weymouth have anything like the Braintree Parade?"
Well, we have a couple of parades, and I think the viewer expressed his displeasure with the length of the parades, but Memorial Day and Veterans Day, more solemn occasions. It's not a celebratory thing, and it's not the focus of the day. The ceremonies, obviously, to recognize our war dead are the focus of that day. We have a number of events that we run, and we have an events committee here, and the staff is pretty taxed throughout the year. We do things like the Pumpkin Festival, which I inherited, which the previous mayor made me commit to not killing it. And I'd be a bad guy if I killed it, It's like killing the Three Stooges. I'd be the bad guy. I'd be Hedlund's against pumpkins. We have A significant 4th of July, July 3rd event, actually, with the fireworks. I think he references that. The Braintree Parade is great, and the only thing I'll counter and say is that a Irish Heritage Parade was kicked off this past year. I was not in attendance. I was previously scheduled to take a little excursion to Florida, so I couldn't view it firsthand.
So is
by
that,
all
is
accounts.
that an annual event now, the Irish Heritage Parade?
It was a one-off, but it was so successful, and the turnout was massive, and I'm going to assume that the writer probably didn't see it, because if he had, I think it came close from what I hear. I've been to the Braintree Parade. I wasn't at the Irish Heritage Parade, but it was pretty good. Well attended. I think WETC covered it. And what was your feedback, Jeff and Mary? It was pretty good, right? Very well attended, yeah. So I think they have something that's developing that could rival Braintree's parade.
Okay, so but no new parade.
That's new. This year was the first year.
Okay, that's the only one that you're planning on doing next year then.
Sounds like it's going to be in the works again. Yep.
So there's the answer. A viewer named Sandra writes to you and says, "Dear Mayor, I love the new Abigail Adams sign in Bicknell Square. But I was wondering what happened to those awesome blue sailboat banners. All the other village centers in Weymouth have banners, but why not North Weymouth?"
Well, they're pretty beat up and tattered. There's only a handful that are in good shape, and we have already been in discussions with the district councilor from that district who wanted, I believe, some input into the design. I thought the previous design was sufficient. I believe those, I could be corrected on this. I mean, did Dan Berkery and those guys ever make a mistake in answering anything?
They didn't know anything about the programming of the station,
Well,
which is precisely why we had people like you do over here.
Well, no, they just run cameras. They don't. Occasionally, Mary jumps in and corrects something, but she has good institutional knowledge of the town. But I believe the North Weymouth Civic Association, in years past, actually paid for those and contributed them. So we were discussing that with them. We might have some money in the Mayor's Beautification Fund, but the design is being discussed, and the purchase of some replacements are in the works.
So, Sandra, it may happen.
I would tell Sandy it's probably not going to be this year. It'll probably be next spring.
Next year.
But the other ones are up around town, and it was just an issue with wear and tear on those.
Sandra also says, P.S., she'd like a mug.
Well, we will be drawing a
drawing. Look at that. I didn't know you had them. Look at that. That's pretty cool. That's the Mayor mugs.
Could you pass me that? In case you get thirsty, Dana, we have a little something for you. You can drink.
Oh, look at that. Wow. Dana. Wow. Can I don't want to deviate from your letters here, but can I tell you one story about this staircase?
Absolutely.
When I left 38, when they canceled my contract, canceled the show, which is the truth. When I got fired from 38.
That's where you draw the line.
That's right. They insisted I take the set with me. And I had a barn, in Ipswich, and so I took the entire set with me, right? And then we ended up doing the show and using part of the set, including the spiral staircase, which is on here now. We ended up using it at 68 for about 6 months before 68 imploded. So
was Garabedian involved with 68?
Not that I remember at that time. Maybe, but at that time I don't remember about it.
They had the, what was the V66? What was 66? Remember V66, the music show?
That was a low-powered, I think that was a LPTV.
That was maybe Garabedian.
Maybe,
yeah. Okay.
But 68, I don't know what it became. But anyway.
Was that the one from BU? The BU bought?
Maybe BU did buy it. Actually, maybe they did.
They ended up making a lot of money off of that.
Yeah,
I met
I'm
the
sure
guy
they
that was
did.
responsible for that deal. He was an aide to Silber.
Great.
If that's the one.
So anyway, the spiral staircase. I ended up with it once again in my barn and everything else. And over the years, we had burning season, which lasted the month of April or for, and we used to burn all kinds of stuff. Well, I started like one by one burning the set. This is a true story. And, my wife is sitting over there and she'll concur. We started burning the set one by one, the fake bricks, everything on the books.
I'm going to cry again.
Yeah, well, I couldn't part with the spiral staircase. So I still had that spiral staircase hanging around in the barn. Finally, we sold our house in Ipswich and moved to Essex about 3 years ago. spiral staircase came with us. I don't know why, but the spiral staircase came with us. Now, it went out in the woods, in my new property out there, and sat out in the woods like this. And I'm saying to myself, you know, I got to get rid of that spiral staircase, but in the back of my head, well, maybe I'll use it someday. I'll build something, and it'll be kind of cool. It'll be the movie loft thing like this. Well, last year a tree fell on it. A tree fell on it and broke it in half. I mean, this huge oak tree fell on it and broke it in half. So as a result of that, there will never be at least another movie loft. Well, of course, there won't be anyway. Will there? Will there ever be another movie loft? I don't think so, but that's very sweet. I wouldn't take that away from you because I know how important that is to you.
We have it proudly displayed on our desk.
There we go.
It still smells like bourbon.
It's comforting. Do you say the full name of the?
We usually do, yeah. If they put it on. Well, we had one guy one time, though, he said, please don't use my name.
Yeah.
And as he finished reading it, he read off his name. We bleeped it out. We bleeped it out.
A viewer named Laura Gatutis LeBaron writes to you and says, Hi, Bob. Do you know who is responsible for the upkeep of Highland Cemetery on Route 19 by the hospital? That's the first question.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let me add this then. It looks absolutely disgraceful with the long grass and overgrown weeds. I know I'm not the only one that has noticed the neglect. I'd love to see it cleaned up, Bob.
So would we. It's privately owned, and I believe the management of that cemetery is on the upper echelon of the age demographic, shall we say, and probably could use some help in managing it. I'm not totally familiar with their finances, but again, privately owned, and I think
so maybe somebody out there might want to help.
Yeah, I think they've had some volunteer work done in the past, and I'm not sure if the town has gotten involved, but it is not a town cemetery.
Okay.
That's the bottom line.
Doesn't fall under your jurisdiction.
It does not.
Okay. A viewer named Joe Haddock writes to you and says, Mayor Hedlund.
This could be, do you think this is a real name or an alias?
Joe Haddock. Well, I wouldn't use my real name, actually, quite frankly, if I was going to write you.
What was Charlie on the Star Kiss guy, Charlie?
Charlie Tuna. Yeah.
I grew up with one of my best friends growing up was Mark Fish.
Well, there you go. I don't know where you went just then, but why don't we get back to this? What do you say? All right.
Am I channeling more Berkery or Domino?
I don't know. You're drifting a little on me, that's all. I'm blaming myself. I really enjoyed the video update on the open space projects that came out in May. Any key updates to those projects since the time of that video? Specifically, the Bradford Torrey Bird Sanctuary has work begun on trail development there, and are there updated estimates for completion of these projects?
Yes, great question. I enjoyed the video too. Great work by WETC and the staff that was out with me filming. Some of the work is done. I have not seen all of it. I was recently at the Woodbine Conservation Area. That's a very simple trail. The trailhead markings are up, the panels are up. It's really nice. So I got some reports on Cavern Rock. I hear that things look great in there. The entrance is cleaned up. But as far as the specifics of Torrey, in response to Mr. Haddock's question, the parking lot on Route 18 is substantially complete. There are some plantings I know that are not done, at least as of the taping of this show. That's something the state is doing as part of the Route 18 project. So you can actually access the site there now. We have an agreement with Bristol Brothers. They are supposed to be doing the trail work, the paying for the mapping. We have the mapping and signage and trail markers ready to go. Bristol is behind schedule. They have either an employee or a subcontractor doing some of the actual trail cleaning. There's existing trails in there that are being upgraded, et cetera. There might be a couple of new ones. They're a little behind on that. They're not done, but we are on target for a completion of everything, installation of markers and map signage, and the parking lot entrance will be complete this fall.
There you go.
So it's an exciting project, and I'm glad we have some interest out there on it.
Sounds like it. Let's see, a viewer named Michael Lavoie asks the mayor, with the improvements the town has made into our recreation fields and facilities, why was this decision made to purchase these? I don't know what he's talking about here. Oh, these, I'm sorry. And there's a picture here of a basketball net.
Okay.
Okay. I ask again, sir.
Is there a second part of that question?
Why? He wants to know why you bought
What's
those.
the other paragraph?
Apparently. All right.
That might help me
All
discern
right,
what he's
I'll read it.
getting
All
to if we
right,
read
all
the
right.
rest of the question.
I just wanted to give you an opportunity to respond to the first part of the question. I doubt anybody who has ever played basketball was involved in the decision. I'm guessing if it were soccer or baseball, we wouldn't have skimped out on that.
Can I offer some editorial comment here before I respond to the question?
I don't know. Go ahead.
I don't understand this rivalry about different advocates in town. We have on social media recently, we have basketball advocates bashing tennis. We have, they said it was a Hingham sport.
Well,
It might be a horse country sport too. Do they have polo up there?
all right.
We have everybody attacking soccer. We have skateboarder advocates attacking everything else. We have men's softball, of which I participate in, complaining because we've lost fields, not just in Weymouth, but everywhere. Right. That's an aging, dying demographic for that particular sport. So I don't know what the complaint is. I'm looking at that picture that he enclosed, and I'm assuming, my guess would be he doesn't like the quality of the backboard. What's interesting is, as many of my constituents know, I've had a foot in Hingham when I was younger. When we wrote that thing to you.
Sounds painful.
I've escaped. But I've been over and seen their basketball courts lately. It's a disgrace. All of the poles are bent. There's no nets. The Hingham courts pale in comparison to the Weymouth courts. In fact, we've built a number of new ones. I don't know if that backboard style's on all of them, and I wish I knew where that one was. So I would encourage Michael to elaborate in the next show, and we can get him a better answer. But I'm guessing from the look of it, he doesn't like the style of backboard, maybe? I don't know.
Well, I guess.
Can you discern that? And
I
Jim,
have no idea.
Believe it or
Is
not,
anybody here who sees it? Could anybody offer anything about anybody play basketball here who would say that?
I met Jim Melody on the basketball court. The first time I ever met him, I was assigned to guard him, and he ran circles.
Jim?
He ran circles around me. Honest to God.
Are you sure you didn't mean the football court? You mean on the basketball court?
Backboard looks phenomenal to me.
By the way,
I don't understand it.
By the way, he's an unbelievable dribbler.
Oh, yes, I know. I know that about him.
You should see me in the bar.
Yeah, that's right. All right. I have another question for the mayor from Maura Cashman from Terra Gardens. Maura says, "Hi, Mr. Mayor. I'm curious, what is the purpose of the tanks located outside of convenient MD at Main Street and Pleasant Street? Is it dangerous to have them so close to such a busy intersection? Just curious."
So the purpose of the tanks is as a result of the, as my understanding on this one, the National Grid lockout. They weren't able to get a gas connection there. And you'll actually see those at other businesses, even some residential homes that weren't able to get their gas tie, and they're still playing catch up from the lockout. So those tanks will go away. They were temporary, and I don't think they're any more of a hazard than anything else you see around town for the most part, I would guess.
Okay, so don't worry about them.
So Dana, you remember your days, they had a producer or a cameraman that would give you signals at times?
Oh, you got that signal there?
I think someone's giving you a signal.
What are we at, about an hour and
What
a
does
half
that mean
now?
what does that mean in the television world when he's going like this?
I don't know. I have no idea.
So listen, we usually tape 2. This was the quickest half hour in television. I had so much fun. It's truly an honor to be here. Is your lovely wife in any rush? We could convince you to start the segment when we come back to do our second show.
You're not going to believe that this is the truth now. She has to play tennis.
Where? We have some beautiful courts down at Legion Field that people claim aren't getting enough use. We can send you down there. Well, we got to open the second show with you, so we're gonna say goodbye.
Sure.
So take us. What's the television lingo? You're gonna take us out? Is that how?
Well, you take us out with music, not me necessarily.
Oh,
Stay tuned.
Okay, so we have a little gimmick on the show. Since we modeled ourselves after Ask the Manager, we usually joke around, and Jim says, stay tuned for, and we try to come up with an old TV 38 show that used to be in reruns.
All
So
right.
what do you got for us?
How about Hogan's Hero?
We've used it. Give us another one.
Well, I'm sure you've used them all.
You got to have one we haven't come
Green
up
Acres?
We've used it.
Holy mackerel.
We use that one.
Yeah, I'm sure. An old TV 30. F Troop.
We've used it. Been a while.
All right, let's do it.
We've done 70 shows.
How about
Let's do F Troop.
how about the Derek Sanderson show?
Now, come on. Now, who remembers that show?
I remember the theme song.
You,
I don't hear a word they're saying, only the
you know
echoes
something? I
of my
can't believe
mind.
you remember that. That is exactly right.
You asked.
How about that? What did that show last? About 3 weeks? It wasn't on there.
I don't know.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I always liked Derek. He was a great guy.
All right,
He was
so
a great
we'll
guy.
go with F Troop. Dana Hersey says, stay tuned for F Troop. See you the next
Oh, I
edition.
thought we were going to hum the thing.
No, we play it. We play it.
Oh, you play it. Oh, F Troop. Good.
All right.
If you have a question, please email the mayor at askmayorbob@gmail.com. That's askmayorbob@gmail.com. Maybe your question will be answered on the next episode of Ask the Mayor.
Some blood was spilled, and so it was planned he'd command F Troop, where Indian fights are colorful sights and nobody takes